Hey, whoa, John, final Island 6 of 6 in my Pacific Island hopping campaign tribute. I added a word every stop. This is the sixth and final stop. I call this island Midway Island. This is the island I was on the other day where Chute fell, the guy who we don't know if he was shot, knocked out, or passed out here. Midway. First of all, the movie is great. They got Woody Harrelson, so he had that droll smile. They gave him all the great lines, but I liked it. There's some CG, but it's a good film. Check it out. It shows the chronology that led up to Midway, including the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Doolittle Raid, and I'm going to do an addendum after this on that. And then finally, Midway. So the United States had broken the Japanese code in early June of 1942. And so because they had cracked the code, they started out sending false messages saying that they were out of water, okay? And the Japanese on an open line, thinking that they weren't being read, said AF is out of water. So they knew that AF was a designation for Midway Island, and moreover, they were going to attack AF. So they sent their Imperial fleet out, 4 carriers. Let's see if I can remember them. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, 4 of their the cream of the Imperial Navy for the Japanese. Behind it was the Yamato sitting in reserve. Now, had they brought the Yamato in, this is a different story altogether. So anyways, they attack Midway. The Japanese, the Americans knew it was coming. They moved their carriers out, by the way, away from Midway to the northwest of Midway. So the Japanese were hoping to catch their carriers at bay. Nope, got them. So they bombed the airfields and the refinery, wherever the oil depot, munitions depots, started cratering the runway, and there was just a small fighter and bomber squadron on Midway. So meanwhile, the carriers launch, and they sank 2 of the carriers immediately. One of them they followed back because they saw an oil slick and they saw a destroyer trailing behind. They just followed them to the major fleet. And what happened with the last 2 carriers is the Japanese high command, I think it was Yamamoto, decided instead of putting putting bombs in the planes to bomb Midway, they wanted to put torpedoes on. I might have screwed that up because I didn't memorize it. I was reading Wiki last night, but either way, it's the torpedoes and the bombers. And they caught the planes on deck with fuel hoses. Boom. United States, a lost squadron of planes came in and knocked them out. They sank all 4 Japanese carriers. For all intent and purpose, they cut the John Thomas off of the Japanese Imperial Navy. Let me just tell you quickly about the Doolittle Raid. So it's 1942. James Doolittle was a race car driver, stunt pilot, daredevil. Colonel Doolittle, they started training in Florida with B-25 planes. I've flown in a B-25 plane, small plane, loud. I banged my head on it, but I was lucky enough to get a ride on that. And so they had 16 crews. They practiced low-level flying and bombing in Pensacola, I think where modern-day Eglin Air Force Base is today. They put them onto a carrier, the Hornet, and they sent them out of San Francisco to Pearl. And it wasn't until they were off Pearl Harbor where they announced to the crew, we're going to bomb Tokyo. So, unfortunately, a picket ship by the Japanese picked them up 300 miles, I believe, several hundred miles before their intended launch point, which meant when they launched the planes, they wouldn't be returning. So these 16 planes, and you can see the movie 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, great movie, and there's some great books about the Doolittle Raid. They're on a one-way mission. So they literally fly over treetops over where the emperor is, Hirohito, Imperial Emperor, because he had told the Japanese that it was invincible and that they couldn't be bombed. But essentially, Jimmy Doolittle told Hirohito to eat a bag of chips, right? So, but all those guys had to bail out. Some of them died. Some of them were taken in by the Chinese. And because the Chinese took care of the American pilots, the Japanese went on a raise. They raped China throughout the 1930s, destroyed China. And there's still a hatred there today, unfortunately. But over 200,000, maybe as many as 300,000 Chinese civilians lost their lives because they were suspected, even though there's no way that many people could, suspected of helping the downed pilots. So this is it for me, Island 6. I'll do my epilogue as well. Tomorrow I'm going to come back to Spot Pond. I think I may do some beach landings and the 4 beaches of D-Day, I want my Canadian friends to check in. I've got a couple of secrets for you on some, one was a failed landing I'll talk about. And then I might do Anzio and also Gallipoli in World War I. So for all of you that got it to this point of all the videos, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Peace be with you. Stay positive, stay strong, stay happy. And again, if you're in a funk, you'll get out of it. Trust me. And if you can get outside, just do something you like. Peace. Thanks for staying.